Picking up today in chapter 34 of Genesis and looking at verse 26. We're going to read through 29. Now remember, Simeon and Levi have just come in and killed all the men in this town. Now, we don't know exactly how big the town was. It may not have been very large. It was probably, a few hundred people total. We don't know exactly how big the town was, but, including men. They basically went house to house and they killed these men. And then in verse 26, it picks up, it says there, speaking of the killing, including Hamor and his son Shechem, they killed with their swords. Then took Dinah from Shechem's house and returned to their camp. Meanwhile, the rest of Jacob's sons arrived. Finding the men slaughtered, they plundered the town because their sister had been defiled there. They seized all the flocks and herds and donkeys, everything they could lay their hands on, both inside the town and outside in the fields. They looted all their wealth and plundered their houses. They also took all their little children and wives and led them away as captives. So this is some rough stuff. And see, one of the reasons that I believe this is an accurate telling and written by people that, here specifically Moses, but the Bible in general was written by people that really knew what happened and relayed accurate things, is this paints Jacob's family in such an awful light. If this was just a made-up story, why would you put this in here? This is brutal. This paints them as overreacting, aggressive murderers. That's exactly what they are here. So I see this as evidence that we can trust the biblical account of Genesis, and it's giving us something real. So it says next, it talks about the rest of the sons arrived. So Simeon and Levi did the initial killing. Then comes the rest of the sons, and they began to take all of the material possessions, everything they could lay their hands on. It says there in verse 28, both inside the town and outside in the fields, even says they took the little children and wives and led them away as captives. So the punishment here simply did not fit the crime. We think about that Old Testament law of an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, but that had really been trampled by Simeon and Levi. They went so far beyond. If you read this, and maybe from that Old Testament eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth thought process, maybe if they had done away with Shechem and said, you're going to lose your life for what you did to our sister. I mean, you can at least kind of look at that and say, well, that from a human point of view may seem fair and equitable in some form or fashion. But they killed all the men in this town. Men that had nothing to do with any of this. Then they take all the stuff, and then they lead the children away and the women as captives. What had the children had to do with any of this? What did the wives have anything to do with any of this? This is overkill on a high level, and there is no way to paint this as a good picture of the sons of Jacob. They overreacted in a profound fashion, and there's no excuse for it. It's just what they did. And we can learn from Scripture here to not take vengeance like this, to not let our emotions and our sometimes desire for revenge take us to places we should never be, to hurt those that were innocent. It's a great lesson for us to learn in our own lives. See you guys soon.